me, your host, Mendi Manyeruke. This is the place where we get to talk about all the different dynamics that are in play in the relationship between a mother and her daughter. And with me today, I'm joined by Dr. Abigail Mokwenzi, Commander-in-Chief of the Red Lipstick Revolution, author and reverend. She's also a coach. Doc, I'm honored to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
So blessed to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And today we have a very interesting topic, and I guess we're just going to have a blast and just laugh and laugh. We're going to be talking about the thin line that is there between being a part of the gang and the authority of a mother. Because, Doc, we find that sometimes as a mom, you want to be a friend, but also you have to be the figure of authority.
That's right.
How do we go about it, Doc, as mothers?
I think it has to be something that a mother has to come to a realization that she has a role to play in the development of the life of your daughter. Meaning that she needs to know where to draw the boundaries. She needs to know where to let go, as it were, and when to take the lead role. So it becomes very, very important. And like you said, it's a thin line. So I mean, if it's a thin line, it means it's often very blurred. It's not really, cut and clear, but it's overlaps and all that. So yeah.
As we call the show Legacy, Doc, I would like to find out what it was like during your time when you were a daughter. What was the relationship? What were the dynamics of the relationship? Was it more on the friendship side or more on the authority side?
I think it was mostly authority side. The mother's role was there to bring order, to draw you back, to pass on what she had learned from her mother, to ensure that you toe the line and comply with the set rules and regulations of the house. So those were very, very clear. Of course, there were always those mother and daughter moments where you hug and you kiss and you have a laugh. But most of the time, she was there to tell you that this is not going to work. If you go down this road, it's not going to work. And I always with challenges because I was always different. I was always more on the creative. And I always wanted to step outside the box, as it were. And her job was to try and rein me in. But yeah, it was good because it then gave me some sense of boundaries. Because if there are no boundaries, all hell breaks loose.
I love what you've just said there, that it reined you in and sort of set certain boundaries.
That's right.
But I would also like to find out the negatives of that. Was there ever a point where the authority, you could say this authority is a bit much, or like you've said, you were a different child. Probably you were outspoken.
That's right.
And sometimes you would question where you were not supposed to question. I'd like to find out, to your character as a child, what were some, you've highlighted the positives. I'd like to find out, were there any negatives where you now think, now you're a mom, now you're a grandma. When you look back and looking at your character now, the woman that you've become, and how you've raised your sons, how you've raised your grandchildren and all those other young ladies that you're mentoring, I'd like to find out, when you look back, do you have any negatives that you say, I think this was a bit much?
I always felt that, for example, all the obsession with housework was too much. It was like the most important thing, or the feminine role that a woman had to play was clearly defined. So it was built around domestic chores and all that. And growing up in a family with more boys than girls, I always thought that the boys used to get away with murder. Where I could try and be like a boy, because I sort of grew up like a tomboy. Just used to do the boy stuff and things like that. And I was always being taught back to become more feminine, more presentable, and not always to be outspoken. I mean, I'm very outspoken, but that was the major drawback, because it tried to confine me and put me in a box. And then, but I always struggled, it was like, just imagine a box and somebody just trying to pull out and come out. That was me. And but at some point, like when I went to university and stuff like that, she really understood that I was different.
Wow.
But then you see, as I grew older, I got married and all that, I still tried to, to be the traditional type of wife, to be the traditional feminine woman. And I would run into problems sooner rather than later because that wasn't me. You know what? We are different. There's somebody who is just comfortable being at home or not doing a lot of things. They are very, very happy. And that is perfect for them. Then there's some people who cannot sit in one place. I can't sit in one place. I can't do one thing. I'm a multitasker.
Yes.
You see, that can also be misunderstood. Because although I was very academic and achieving excellent results, at the same time, I could not get away with being academic. I was still expected to do those things that I thought, if Einstein was alive, to do what I'm doing, would he have discovered all those things? Yeah.
Wow. So how did you deal with being misunderstood by your mom? How did you, the two of you in your relationship, how did you work it out so that you get to bridge that gap that was there?
You know what happened, and then my mother was very visionary in a way, and she could see that there was so much in me. So the first thing she did when I finished my O levels, I got on the plane. She sent me to my sister who was in the UK. Even before the results came out, I was in the UK. And when I was in the UK, I started doing my A levels, and I was living by myself. Yeah, I left my sister's place and I went to live. I was staying by myself, doing a part-time job here and there. Then I went to university. So I was pretty much now by myself. And every time I came back on holiday, that's when we really got to connect as mother and daughter. She knew I was crazy, These hairstyles, I didn't start them now. I mean, I used to have blonde hair 20 years ago.
Wow.
Seriously, 30 years ago. And I used to have all those, what they would then called funny hairstyles. Because I know I used to present a show on ZBC TV, Your Home, and I would present with half of my hair shaved off. And at that time it was like she's off the hook. But now,
so in other words, you're saying it took your mom to understand you as a person. It took your mom to take time to know her daughter.
That's right.
And understand what makes her daughter stand out so that you two could have a beautiful friendship at the end of the day.
That's right.
You've had it, viewers. Let's talk about this more after the break. Welcome back. Before the break, Doc was explaining to us how her mom made so much effort to understand her character and what made her unique so that she could be a friend with her daughter. Doc, now we want to talk about the 21st century mom. I've seen a scenario on social media where a mom goes clubbing with her daughter in the name of being cool. We've seen moms drinking alcohol, partying, smoking with their children. Is this still just part of being the gang, being part of the squad? Or maybe my generation, we're taking it a bit too far?
I think that I've outgrown all those things that I used to be. Earlier on, when I was talking about my upbringing, I was not a Christian. I grew up in a home which was with a church-going mother, but without too much of the word. The word of God does say that, train up a child in the way that they should go. So when they are old, they will not depart from it. Meaning that everything that people learn, children learn, they acquire it from socialization. You see, if you take twins, two sets of twins, and you bring one up in India and one in America, the Indian in America will be speaking with an American accent, doing all those American things that are cool, they'll all be happening and all that. And the one who grows up in rural India or in Murambinda, and it will be so what we are is what they become. What we pour into them is what they assimilate to become. So for me, it's not cool to drink alcohol at all. But of course I used to drink. I was a party goer, nightclubber. You name it, I did it. But then I actually found that whatever I was doing out there, it would also be transferred to the children. because you reproduce. You know, you reproduce yourself. You reproduce who you are,
That's
not
very
what
true.
you say.
That's very true.
Do you understand?
Yeah, they learn from watching. They learn better
from
from
watching
than from what we
exactly.
say. Wow.
So you'd find that in our home it was just normal to drink alcohol and stuff like that. You know, so the kids just grow up thinking it's normal to drink alcohol and do stuff like that. So if you live in a house where 4 letter words are the order of the day, you will find a toddler learning to walk and coming up with some neat 4 letter words. So there is nothing cool about me trying to wear the same clothes that like you would wear. I mean, you know, and you need to draw the line.
Okay.
So there is nothing cool about me losing it all just for the sake of wanting to fit in. So what would I be teaching a daughter by going to a nightclub with her? What do I teach her?
Exactly.
I would rather be focusing on the other things in life. There is so much that we can impart to our children. And as long as that spiritual element is not predominant, there will be challenges.
Wow. Wow. So then this means that as mothers, we've got a very, very difficult job for us, because on the other hand, you really want to be a friend.
Yes.
So that these young girls will be able to feel comfortable and tell you their secrets.
Why can't you be friends in church?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we want to be the figures that guide, the figures that show the way and everything like that. Which reminds me of a saying that I came across recently. It says that if a mother has a 12-year-old, it means that herself, she has to start thinking like a 12-year-old. Let's go through that. Where do we draw the line? Because then probably that mother who is wearing that crop top and whatnot is actually trying to think like a 16-year-old, 18-year-old.
Yeah. The word of God says, when I was a child, I spake like a child. Okay? So there are some things that you do when you're a child. But when you grow, when you mature, you give up the childish ways. Does it mean that now, when you are hanging out with your daughter and trying to be cool, and maybe she's drinking a bottle of milk, you also drink a bottle of milk?
Oh, wow.
No. Do you understand?
Yes.
So there's a time the child also matures. But I would put it this way. I will come down to her level, yeah, in order to connect.
Okay.
Just to connect. Just to go out and hang out.
Okay.
Go and have coffee. Go to a movie. I would listen to some of the music that she listens to. It's also very important.
Oh, yes.
What are they listening to?
Oh, wow.
Because garbage in, garbage out. So I would do that only now to be able to rise above the situation and then be able to impart some wisdom into her. And tell her, you know what, when I was young, I walked through that route. It didn't work.
I love that. I love what you've said, that you would go to an extent of listening to the type of music that she's listening.
Yeah.
Because you can only understand a world
That's
that
right.
you've like participated in. So you might not understand the behavior of your daughter because you don't know what it's like in her world. So by listening to the music, by going out for coffee, by watching the type of movies.
That's right.
Because probably these movies that are there now are totally different from those movies that used to be, you know, there during your time. I love it, Doc. I liked it when you said that there are a lot of other things that we can impart in our young girls. Can you tell us some of those things?
You know, it's like when a girl is growing up, she has a vision for her life. So I get surprised that there are some, in the same environment, same situation, some young girls are leaving their homes, getting married, wearing gowns and all that.
Oh, yes.
There's something that is very wrong. So it's very important to impart the right thing in my daughter's life so that I can help her develop a vision for her life. Because if the vision is not there, you see, if there is no target, you throw something, you hit it all the time because there is no defined target. So if there is no vision, there is no defined target. She's going through life like trial and error. So our role is really very important to enable her to have a vision for her life, enable her to come up with like a vision board, where on her vision she must say, you know, I'm going to maybe eventually get married,
I love that.
buy a house,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Raising visionaries, go-getters.
That's right.
Amazing women, trailblazers. Doc, you're saying it like it should.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a break. Don't touch that dial. Before the break, Dr. Magwenzi was talking about imparting being a visionary, imparting the attitude of being a trailblazer in the next generation of mothers that are there, instead of imparting negativity and emptiness and just being vain. Doc, what legacy was left for your generation by the generation of mothers that was before you?
The most important thing that my mother left in me was hard work.
Wow.
Hard work and love. Love. And when she died, I just fell apart because she had poured so much love into me and sacrifice. You sacrifice everything for your children. You sacrifice everything for your family. So that was the most important thing. So now, if you leave people just things, or you give somebody a house, they can sell that house tomorrow.
Wow.
You understand? I mean, if you leave them a car, they can have an accident. But the most important legacy is not things.
Wow.
It's the wisdom that you put in that person. So for me, that was the most important thing. And what I know I grew up in Bari, I was born in Bari, born and bred. All I know was that ghetto life was not easy. And my mother didn't want me to confine myself to Bari. She wanted me to sprout up wings and fly and begin to soar. That is why she went to so much trouble, borrowing money to get me a ticket, to get me out. Yeah. So that in itself put a seed in me that I cannot just go through life being mediocre.
Wow.
I have to make an impact wherever I am. Wherever I go, people must remember me. I mean, I can't just go there and just blend and live without leaving a mark. So that legacy is something that I'm struggling and trying to live in my children and my grandchildren. And watching my little granddaughter Joanna, you know, doing all those funny things and dancing and what have you, I then realized that there's always the devil who is prowling around like a lion, trying to detract her from the route that God has ordained for her and predestined for her to take her on another route. So that keeps me on my knees. It keeps me very busy.
Wow.
So the difference between that and now is that I am blessed because there's so much that I can draw from the word. There are areas that I failed dismally in my life. Yeah? But the word of God is there to comfort and to strengthen me and to edify me. So I just pick up the pieces and I continue to go.
Wow. Do you know what? There's something that you said about your mom imparting you to be a person of a loving person, right? It triggered a certain question in my mind that in our generation, there's just so much divide. And back in the days, you'd find a child playing in the streets and mwana aiva mwana we munhu wese, amai vaiva amai kumwana wese. What changed? What has changed, Doc?
I think the socio-economic environment that we are growing up in, there is so much stress, there's so much crime now. When we grew up, there was virtually no crime, virtually no murders. I mean, Bari was safe. I could walk in Bari at night and not feel unsafe.
Wow.
But now things have changed. And the more we move away from what the Word of God prescribes for us, the more we lose it.
Wow.
You know, even in these neighborhoods, the even more affluent neighborhoods, you can't even walk at night anymore. Somebody's snatching your handbag, somebody's stabbing somebody. And even if you look at the patterns of crimes that are happening, like the other time, you know, a mother who killed 3 or 4 children. Something is not right. There's so much stress. People are moving around. It's like dead men walking. you know. And it's now every man for himself, every woman for himself, but God for us all. But I think we need to get to that place which we used to have, like in the communal lands. And the more we get divorced from that rural connections that we used to have, ubuntu, unu, wakanga huripo, and that's just loving and caring for each other and helping each other out. A problem is if a problem will be solved communally and all that. So there is a disconnect. So you find that somebody like me who was maybe a first generation born urban dweller, my children are more detached because I don't even have a house or a hut. Handina kana kitchen yangu kumusha because ndakarora uone mukomana wangu anga ari kuhaifilits waonawo ende amweni wangu anga vari kuhaifilits ende amweni wangu anga asinawo futi chi anga asinawo futi kumba kumusha. So that disconnect as well means that people are being left to their own devices, their own wisdom, and making all kinds of decisions.
So I take it, Doc, what you're trying to say is that this disconnect is what has caused the washing away of Ubuntu, which takes me back to what we were saying. Back in the days, I'm sure you'd never see a mother in a club with her daughter, which goes back to what you're saying, the washing away of Ubuntu.
That's right.
That is just what is happening in our generation. So what legacy are you working on leaving for the next generation of mothers?
For me, to be quite frank, in 3 words, the wisdom of God.
Wow.
Because no one can take it away. Everything else can be taken away. Everything else can fall away. Heaven and earth can fall away. But what is in me, my mind, my soul, my spirit, the spirit person, the me as I am, you can never take it away.
Wow. Wow.
You cannot take it away because I know who I am and I have my identity defined. And that's the most important thing that you can impart into a girl. She must know her identity. She must know that is domasi batwa batwa.
Wow. And how are you teaching this? How are you telling her? But what's the approach, the friendship or the authority?
I think everything, I can say love covers a multitude of sins. So authority does not mean, you see, you can have soft authority. You can still get the same thing done. But even in a household, there must be set rules that are defined. We don't do this. We don't come home after 8 o'clock. We don't drink. You know what I mean? We still do in school. Stuff like that. Those rules have to be there because if you don't draw the line in that way, it will soon come back and catch up with her. So I think it's very, very important that as a mother, what you are doing is to make sure that whatever challenges that she may face, whether akarambwa nemurume or not, and it akafoira kuchikoro, akatanga business rikabroka, izvo sezvozvoka zvinogona kuchinjika as long as she has got it in her. To say these are temporary situations because situations do not define a person. Yeah. So you need to be able to say, for every situation or circumstance that you are in, rise above it.
I love that, Doc. Rise above it.
That's right.
And you're saying that every approach, there is a way of blending the two. You've heard it for yourself, viewers. Dr. Magwenzi here is saying that there is a way of blending the two, friendship and authority. And that is the best way to win your daughter. Thank you very much for watching.